Let's stay airborne, shall we? Introducing the CTO of one of the world's leading high-tech companies within military defense, aircraft and civil security, namely the Saab Group, Pontus de Laval. Welcome.
So, my name is Pontus de Laval and I'm Chief Technology Officer of Saab. I was asked by Sten Gunnar to come here and talk a little bit about Saab's interaction with Science Park, and more specifically one science park, the Lindholmen Science Park in Gothenburg, because they have an interesting model for collaboration. But before I go into that, I want to share with you a little bit about Saab and why we joined, hopefully this will be apparent through my presentation. And now, let's see. Our company, we're roughly 15,000 employees, and we are extremely engaged in R&D activities. Roughly half of these guys are active in R&D, or at least 6,000 of them. I think we will spend roughly 700 million euros next year on R&D alone. We do a lot of this R&D very close in collaboration with our customers, and then of course it's a very little R and a very big D, a lot of development. We also have extensive collaboration with universities. I think at any given time we roughly have some maybe 50 or so collaboration projects together with the universities, primarily in Sweden. Very strong here in Linköping, of course, but also Stockholm and Gothenburg, Chalmers and the Royal Institute. But also abroad through European framework programs, but also when we have these large engagements trying to sell our fighter aircrafts also in those countries where we market, and I'll come back to that as well. Aeronautics, of course, the Gripen fighter, very important for us. And we see a bright future in this area where we are developing the new generation, the E version, where we just got a decision from Brazil to join us in this development and also develop a two-seater. So we foresee a fantastic development in this area in the coming years. We are active in sensor systems. I won't go into any details, just give you a brief overview. Primarily focused in the Gothenburg area, where we just developed a new generation of electronically scanned systems, weapon systems, command and control. Command and control, tell you a little bit about that. Here we are very strong on the military side, but roughly, could it be like 8 or 9 years ago, we decided that this area would be interesting for us also to develop in the civilian field, and here now we are touching on the connection to Lindholmen. Because, and we are also active in simulation and training. I won't talk about this. I'll skip also underwater, very interesting area. But from these command and control activities, we've developed a business in security, in different command and control functions in the security field and also in the traffic management field. And these areas are growing rapidly for us. When we started up this activity in the civilian field, of course, we were facing a new market, but also a completely new set of customers, and also some technology issues that we had to deal with. We have customers that couldn't pay as much as they did in the military field, and with different demands. And Lindholmen Science Park could actually did help us in this transformation of our business, and I'll come back to that. But just a few words about the Lindholmen model. Lindholmen Science Park in Gothenburg, that was created to exploit the shipyard lot in the middle of Gothenburg that was abandoned. Sweden had one of the largest shipyard industries in the world in the 70s, but this was basically shut down. The government took over a lot of these facilities and created a company for the, how should I say, the remaining parts, and that basically consisted of the military shipyards and also the lots that was left from the civilian activities, and that was a perfect lot in the middle of Gothenburg. And at this site, the city of Gothenburg and Chalmers decided to set up a science park, and of course Göran Johansson was an engine in this development. And the focus on this science park was to attract large companies to get them quickly the momentum, and to do that they started triple helix projects to attract industry, but also looking at the societal challenges in the Gothenburg area. And their focus was on transport, ICT, and media. So we joined this science park as a co-owner when they opened up an area in the security field, because we saw this possibility to use the triple helix model to understand this business when we started it up, and use the Lindholmen and the Lindholmen model working with academia and with local government, and look at societal challenges, for instance in the Gothenburg harbor or Gothenburg port, the security issues in the port, maintaining a good flow of goods and increasing security. We can use that to get very, very close to the port authorities and discuss with them to understand what kind of challenges they had. So for us it was a very good way of understanding this new business. One key element was, of course, public funding from different sources. You have the contingency agency, Vinnova, the regional funds, and also, of course, industry. And now we run the park with public and industry funding for roughly 70 to 80 million a year, Swedish crowns, to run projects, small projects, seeds that then are created and then are, how should I say, transferred into larger projects and taken care of by industry. I would like to emphasize this factor, that it works like a greenhouse for new ideas that then are exploited by other parties. One very good example of this is the Asta Zero testing ground for new traffic solutions, like running cars autonomously and things like that, where the science park is the greenhouse for that idea, to develop the idea, and then someone else is taking over to actually exploit it. And what also we are starting to work with also within the national in the science park is to be a national champion in selected areas, for instance in transport efficiency, and not only a regional park. Saab's experience, as I said, it's a very the Lindholmen model, where we actually are running projects together. Industry and academia and government is, we think, a very good model. And it also, I called it contact phobia, that sometimes governmental bodies have working with industry. It eases it up. It makes it much easier for governmental bodies to talk to industry in pre-competitive phases. So I think here also the science parks have a role to play. Of course, public funding is a very good lubricant. It makes things happen. And you don't have to spend a lot of money, but having some money to start up projects is very good. And Saab has taken now this Lindholmen model to Brazil also, and we started the Swedish-Brazilian Research and Innovation Center, where we have attracted, I think we're up to 11 members now, and we have actually received our first Brazilian member in this center, where we are also adding this Swedish-Brazilian link to these collaborations. But that's a completely another story, and I can spend a few hours talking about that, but I won't do that today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pontus. Well, the importance of science parks as a neutral venue that diffuses tension cannot be emphasized enough. Location is key. Many times, maybe not always, we see later on during the row of presentations here. And also, as you mentioned, large companies as drivers, as generators of a flow that will also create spin-off effects as they go along. Your last point is interesting too. System building is, of course, attractive in an export context. And successful science parks also, of course, create healthy competition within the business as such.